Welcome to Meet the Author Live from book publisher New Degree Press, or NDP. NDP is part of Manuscripts Inc. Incorporated, and I'm your host of the show, John Saunders. Manuscripts Inc. is an enterprise that has now published authors from 6 continents and earned a spot on the Inc. magazine 5,000 list for the second year in a row. These are the fastest growing privately held companies in America. Think you have a book in you? Want to start or accelerate your movement in the next 12 to 15 months? Visit manuscripts.com to learn more. This is a comprehensive coaching program that will take you from idea to published book in about a little over a year. But not just a published book, but published like a second-time author, which includes audience creation and activation. Today, we're doing a segment of Meet the Author Live. This is an opportunity to learn everything there is valuable to know about an author, and we can answer your questions live in the chat. So please, to start off, please drop in the chat where you're calling in from today and let us know where you are. And if you have questions as we go, feel free to throw them in there, and we will do our best to answer all of those as we go through it with Scott. So today with me, brand new author, Scott White, who recently published a book, The Life is Too Short Guy. In addition to his nationwide media tour, he's also has a newly released podcast that came out yesterday on the New Degree Press podcast channels on YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts out there. So definitely go check that out. So a little bit about Scott, and then we'll dive into the questions here. But please start to throw your comments in the chat of where you're calling in, joining us from. So Scott, The Life is Too Short Guy, is the happiest guy you'll ever meet. Knowing him for a while now, I can totally agree with that assessment. After spending over a decade on investment banking on Wall Street, he took a chance and became an entrepreneur and business builder. Today, he's the chairman and CEO of a publicly traded real estate company. Scott is always looking for his next challenge and has completed 1 Ironman triathlon and 15 marathons. Tired just thinking about that, buddy. Scott's on a mission to make the world happier, one smile at a time. With his endless energy, he motivates and inspires everyone he meets to focus on happiness, gratefulness, and positivity. He married his high school sweetheart, Jen. Together, they are the two most passionate Rutgers fans in the world. Scott, great to see you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm grateful to be here.
So how does it feel now after all this work you've done? And man, did you come into this thing and just shot right out of a cannon. Buddy, I really applaud you for that. How does it feel to have a book out there with your name on the cover?
Oh, it's amazing. It's gratifying. It's exciting. It's energizing. I can go through the litany of words. It's just fun. Bottom line is it is fun.
That is awesome. Oh, we already have some people calling in from around the country here. DC, Deb, welcome. Deb, thanks for joining us. SS Moss from Atlanta. No Scott from his IBD days. Investment banking, I guess.
Yes.
Who else jumped on here? Jerry Sanchez from New York. Go Rutgers. There you go. Great to see you all. Thank you for jumping in there. So what do you think you learned from writing your book? You know, a lot of people come in thinking, I'm going to write this book, but then there's a bit of a learning journey behind it. Scott, what was that like for you? What did you learn?
There's so much learning. I mean, this was pushing me way outside my comfort zone. I'd say this was probably one of the more challenging things I've done the last decade. Absolutely the most fun thing I've done the last decade. But I learned about myself. I learned about some of my priorities. I learned about the power of my network and the support I had for my community. I clarified some of my own thinking. You know, I talk in the book a lot about my philosophy and this life is too short guy approach, but until you actually sit down and put pen to paper, you can't always explain it. So the writing process helped me put a fine point on this is what I think, and this is how I approach life.
I mean, it's such an interesting way to think about it, right? We oftentimes have thoughts in our head about whatever it might be, but when we actually have to sit down and write it and then have an editor say, yeah, Scott, that makes sense, right? Another person. And then of course your beta readers, the audience members you give it to early on, right? You really have to make it clear and focus on that clarity. And that alone is such a journey of learning. That's awesome. Given what a busy schedule you have with running marathons, running a company, being married, how did you fit this thing into your life?
You know, in the book, one of the chapters is called Minutes Matter, and I talk about prioritizing minutes and thinking about your minutes. We all have the same number of minutes every day. None of us know how many minutes we have left, and I just made this a priority. So there were trade-offs. There's no doubt there were things that I had to give up, things that I've enjoyed doing over my life that just didn't get done this year. But this became so fun that it became self-motivating. It became self-inspiring. It wasn't a task on the to-do list. It was I'm going to get up at 4:30 and write because I really want to write, not because I have to write. And there were challenges. There's no doubt. As you said, juggling an awful lot of things, and at times it felt overwhelming. But I'd step back, take a deep breath, and just prioritize and say, all right, well, this has to get done today. This can wait until next week, next month.
That is awesome, and I love this. I like to call it a tipping point, right? So many times authors come into the program, they start writing the books, it starts very wide, right? You're sort of diverging and thinking about all these different things and researching as you go through the learning process, interviewing people and learning. And it feels like it's going wider and wider and wider, right? And you're like, where the heck is this thing going? And I think you and I had that conversation at some point along the way, maybe once or twice. And then at some point you have more of that coaching and it starts to converge and it starts to really come together. And I feel like that's the tipping point where you start to say, man, I can't wait to get back to my seat and make this happen today, which is awesome. It certainly sounds like it happened for you. I know it's early, but what's been the best thing to come out of this author journey for you so far?
Oh, it's been the connections I've made with people. No question. I'd say the biggest surprise, the biggest benefit, and the most exhilarating and fun thing is reconnecting with people like Mr. Moss, who just popped up there. I know Scott from his investment banking days. I could give you 25 of those stories right now if we had enough time, which we really don't. But people that I've known for many years that you just don't have a reason to engage with on a regular basis. All of a sudden, you're writing a book. People ping you. They shoot you a text. They shoot you an email. They give you a call. They check in with you. That was awesome. Related sort of to the community, so many people helped me move this book forward. So many people, I had beta readers and I had people help with the cover design. I had people give me story ideas. There were a lot of friends that said, oh, if you're looking for this, I can introduce you to X or Y or Z. I've had people since introduce me to media contacts. It's been really amazing. In this program, we talk a lot about writing as a community. That has been amazing. And I'd say the final thing related to the whole community aspect is the feedback I'm now receiving. There is nothing more gratifying in my entire life than right now getting texts, emails, calls from people talking about how this book has impacted them, how they've done something different, I literally was with someone this morning. So we're talking about an hour or two ago who said, I had met her about a month ago and she had a minor setback. And I had said to her, this is great. One door closed, another opens. Now's your chance to go out and embrace and do something new. And she said to me, this was in the last hour. She's like, Scott, when you said that to me, I got to be honest with you, it was kind of exhausting. I was like at the point in my life where I'm not sure I needed something new. And then as I reflected on it, I've now since started X. And I'm not necessarily going to say what X is or who the person is, but because of the conversation I had, which is tied to the book, she is now exploring a new opportunity. I have another 12 or 15 stories like that. And by the way, the book's been out about 4 weeks. So I can't wait to see the number of people I impact, the people that say, you know what? I'm going to take this chance. I'm going to re-engage. I'm going to do something. I'm going to live a happier life. That's awesome.
And what I love about your story, not only this community, these connections you've made, which is so fun. Certainly everyone goes through that experience if they really dive in and embrace it. And most people do. And that's when it becomes magical. But reconnecting with these folks. And then what I love about your story is this, dare I say, simple act, right? It doesn't sound that hard to be happy from time to time, right? Can inspire, change, and get people to take action, which you've had so much feedback on. I find fascinating.
No doubt. Look, when I wrote it, my intent, my very deliberate goal was to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't fill it with academia. Don't fill it with theories. Don't fill it with tons of stats. Sure, there's some empirical support for what I'm saying, but it's simple. Pick it up and live a happier life. Who doesn't want to live a happier life? I'm on a mission to make the world happier, one smile at a time. And that's the goal of the book.
I love that. I did just drop the Amazon tab at the chat into the chat, the Amazon link. If you want to go out and get Scott's book, you can also go out and visit his website, lifeistooshortguy.com, or find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter at Scott E. White number two. So easy man to find out there and learn more information about. A couple more questions here. I want to just share this with our listeners, and then we're going to jump into the rapid fire section. So if you do have a question you want to throw in the chat, please do that here in the next few minutes, and we'll try to get to those. Scott, would you write another book?
Absolutely. This was such a fun process. There's not a doubt in my mind that there are more books, plural, with an S at the end, in me. I don't know what or when or how, but I guarantee you there'll be more books, and then hopefully you'll invite me back on your show.
The pleasure would be mine. Let's share with our listeners just a little bit about this extraordinary media tour you've been on the last few weeks. You've been on radio, TV, podcasts. How's that been going?
Awesome. I absolutely love it. My goal is to spread this message. My goal isn't necessarily to sell books. My goal is to spread this message. And I've been very fortunate and grateful and look, fairly aggressive in that I've been reaching out to a lot of people in the last 2 weeks. I've been on 20 different radio stations around the country, 15 different television stations around the country, 17 different podcasts. Next week, I'm going to be live in studio in Washington, D.C., Valentine's Day morning. If you're in the D.C. market, I'll be on WUSA at around 9 a.m. I have a couple of speaking engagements lined up, and I'm looking to do more speaking engagements in the year. Look, I'm really on a mission to spread this message. I want to see people smile. I want to see people inspired. I want to see people changing what they do. And I don't mean a wholesale, like, oh, I heard Scott or I read the book and I'm a new person. That's not reality. The reality in the way the book is written is if you can make small tweaks, minor changes, small steps, the way you think, the way you approach life, every day could be a little bit better, a little bit happier. And wow, if I could reach a few 100 million people, let you dream big, and everyone can live a slightly better life, an extra smile, an extra thank you, an extra celebration in their life, what a better world we're living in.
And what a infectious, is that a good word to use these days after COVID? Contagious? No. What a message that really can spread very quickly. I'll say that. And it's such a positive one. And, there's not, the steps aren't monumental, right? And if you want to hear Scott's full story on this, we had a great interview that just premiered yesterday on the New Degree Press YouTube channel. Wherever you get your podcasts out there, YouTube, of course, has video, which is a lot of fun. But Scott, just a little bit of a teaser for that, maybe. For someone that's feeling like, man, I'm sort of stuck in a rut. What do I do here? Where would you suggest that person maybe starts to think about trying to be happier each day?
So there's so many easy things. I'll give you the two easiest tools that I tell people. And this is the beauty of it. It is so easy. When you hear it, you're not going to be like, wow, I've never thought of that. You're going to be like, huh, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure I need Scott to tell me that. Yet I challenge you to think about. So first one, what's your first thought when you wake up in the morning? I always ask people this, and it's amazing to me. I would say half the people I asked that to are like, oh, I have no idea. I don't know what my first thought was. And I'd say another 30-ish% are like, I was tired. I didn't feel like getting up. It's dark. It's cold. Why start the day with what I call blurry lenses? Why start the day looking through the screen of negativity or the screen of neutrality? I don't remember. Why don't you proactively, when you wake up tomorrow morning, think about your very first thought. Open those eyes, and whatever it is. For me, I'm grateful I have a chance to talk to John today. I'm grateful I have a chance to be on this LinkedIn Live. I'm grateful I had a chance to meet someone during the day that I think I had a positive impact on. I'm grateful that I'm in bed next to the person I love. I'm grateful that my daughter is in another room. I'm grateful that all right, enough, right? I'm now 10 seconds into the day, and I've rattled off 12 things I'm happy about. Think about that every day. Because every day will take twists and turns, and I can't guarantee you every day is going to be perfect, and I can't guarantee you waking up smiling and happy is going to make it a great day. What I can tell you is you're setting yourself up for greater success by opening your eyes and proactively thinking about positive thoughts and gratefulness and happiness than starting the day with, I don't know, or, oh my God, it's so cold. I can't believe I have to do this. Oh, I have so many things to do today. Why set yourself on that tone? So that's tool number one. Tool number two, the easiest one of all that people are be like, that's what he's telling me, but I want you to think about it. Smile. Smile more often. Get in your car and smile. You're at lunch, smile. Smile when you order a cup of coffee. Smile when you get home today. Smile when you're on this podcast. Smile as you're listening to this. It sounds crazy, right? But the more often you smile, the more often you create brain chemicals that create positive endorphins, that create happiness and gratefulness. And not only that, you're infecting the people around you. When was the last time you walked by somebody, they smiled, and you either smiled back or you felt some good energy? Smile more, wake up with a positive attitude. There are two very simple tools, and I have dozens more in the book.
I love it. And if you want to hear the whole interview and all these great tips, certainly go out and get Scott's book wherever you get books online. It's available in bookstores across the country as well. And certainly check out the Creator Community Podcast on YouTube. I just dropped the link in the chat. We've got a few more comments in here I want to just touch on here and a few visitors. Let's see, Bob Raymond joining us from Charlottesville. Home of Dave Matthews, I think. Bob, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Greenwich, Connecticut. Oh, Rick Roth, thank you for putting your name in there since it says LinkedIn user. Great to see you on here. Matthew Skirb. Do you know this gentleman? Am I saying his name right?
Matt Skirby is probably my longest serving friend. I've known Matt Skirby my entire life.
Wow, 40 years it says here. So proud of you. Thanks for pouring your and putting this gift out there to the world. Love it. Thank you for that comment, Matt. And another Matt on the list here, Matt Mueller, who's coming up with the podcast here in a couple of weeks as well. What's your next book, buddy? You have a title for it yet?
So it's funny because when I announced this book, I just had a book launch party a couple of weeks ago, and a few friends were jabbing me and making fun of me because one of my favorite sayings that I say all the time is it's all about the story. I'm all about creating fun stories. Every time you go out, you have an opportunity to create and write the next chapter of your life. And they asked me and prodded me, why isn't the book called It's All About the Story? So maybe that's the setup for the next book. It's all about the story. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you for jumping on there, Matt. Great to see you and joining us. And if you want to learn more about Scott and his story, definitely go out, visit his website, check out his LinkedIn page. You can find him all over social media, but there's his information once again. Now we're going to jump into my favorite part, Scott, the rapid fire questions, where we get to learn really everything useful there is to know about you, is what I like to describe these questions as. And oftentimes can create some of the most controversy in the chat here, which I find, which is a lot of fun. So, if anyone out there doesn't agree with something Scott's saying, or you do agree, feel free to chime in on the chat, which always makes these more interesting. I'd like to start with our most important question, Scott, which is, what is your favorite sandwich?
Favorite sandwich? Oh, I'm a Jersey guy. I got to go with the pork roll, egg, and cheese on a hard roll. That's about as Jersey a sandwich as you can get.
Wow. Is that a breakfast sandwich or lunch?
Anytime you want.
Love it. Favorite color?
Red. I'm a Rutgers guy, no doubt. That one's easy.
Scarlet, right?
Scarlet red.
I know you were just out in the Rocky Mountains skiing, if I recall correctly, but favorite or most memorable vacation spot life to date?
Probably Israel. Did a wonderful trip to Israel a few years ago. Definitely one of the most memorable vacation spots.
Wow. Certainly on my list. Scariest animal to Mr. Scott White?
Snakes, no doubt. Hate them.
Snakes get such a bad rap. I feel almost bad for them. Better fruit, apples or bananas?
Bananas.
Gonna have to agree to disagree on that one. Favorite or most memorable movie?
Oh, that's a good one. How about A Few Good Men? I'm a big fan of A Few Good Men.
Love it. This is a new question I've added for season 6, and one I often find provides tremendous insight into people, which is first concert you ever went to?
Billy Joel. Been to quite a few of his.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I think for me it was Steve Miller Band, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
Favorite smell?
I'll capture that in a broad sort of fall. The smell of fall, falling leaves and pumpkin spice and fall as a conglomerate of aromas.
Love it. Pumpkin spice latte. A few things better than that at Starbucks, right? What? Last photo on your phone?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see.
Gonna have to check mine too. I'm forgetting.
I was signing books and watching basketball last night, and I sent a picture to a friend. I don't know if you could see it, probably not, but it's me literally watching a game on the iPad and signing books to be shipped out. So.
Oh, I did see that one somewhere. And I forgot what mine was. This is a quote. I took my oldest son to the Hirshhorn Museum this weekend, and there was this kind of one room filled with kind of graffiti art. They covered every single inch of the space. It was a huge room with kind of graffiti art with lots of thoughtful sort of nuggets with it. And this one said, "The key to freedom is turning our attention to understanding ourselves." That was a pretty interesting quote to capture. Cool. I like that one. Favorite song to sing, Scott, with or without an audience?
Oh, whatever the last thing is I heard. I never stopped singing. I talk about that in the book too. One of the ways to happiness is just sing, whistle, enjoy life. It doesn't matter. I don't even know the words. I just make them up, but I'm singing all the time.
I think we have similar musical interests or patterns. What is one thing you own you really should get rid of or throw out?
Oh, probably nothing, because I throw out all the time. There's very little excess stuff around them. I don't like junk.
Well done. Well done. Most audacious goal for 2023?
It's all book related. I probably have a dozen of them. I'd love to become an Amazon bestseller. I'd love to become a New York Times bestseller. That's a big audacious goal. I'd love to sell 100,000 plus copies of the book. Talk about crazy audacious goal. I'd love to get a couple of hundred reviews on Amazon. So anybody that's listening, please think about hopping up on Amazon and throwing up a review, because I'd like to be at least 200 by year end. I'd like to deliver 15 or 20 keynotes this year. So if you know any place that might be interested in me delivering keynotes, it's all book related. It's actually, I shouldn't say it's book related. It's message related. I want to make the world happier one smile at a time. And I got a lot of sub goals around that.
I love the ambition. No doubt if anyone can get all of those goals done, it's you, from what I've seen and how you've just torn through this program. I mean, writing. I think you had 10 or 20,000 words written, weeks ahead of the next closest person as you went through the program. But it didn't go so cleanly, right? You had those words, but had to edit them back and make it happen.
No doubt. There were peaks and valleys.
Turned out with a extraordinary book. And now you've done all this signing for your book, right? And if people want to learn and find out how to talk to Scott about doing a keynote, I'll put his information back up on the screen. Life is Too Short Guy, or find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter at Scott E. White 2. Have you ever, now you've done all the signing of your books, Scott, have you ever asked anyone for their autograph?
Oh, plenty. Definitely. As a sports fan, I'm always asking for autographs. I still do.
There is an unbelievable story that Scott shares on the podcast about an athlete. And holy cow, talk about someone who views their life in the life is too short guy story. Want to share just a very short teaser on this story about the Rutgers football player?
Sure. I was at the game about 12 years ago, and a Rutgers football player was running down the sideline. Massive collision. My family's there watching. He stays down for a while. Finally, he is carted off the field, goes through the tunnel, and begins the next phase of his life. His name is Eric LeGrand, for those that don't know who I'm talking about. And I've still kept in touch and interviewed Eric for the book. And his philosophy, his smile, his positivity is beyond anything I could explain. He told me that the night of the injury, he heard the doctor telling his mom that Eric will never breathe again on his own. Eric will never walk on his own. Eric will never eat solid foods again on his own. Actually, we hope Eric makes it through the surgery, and here we are over a decade later, and Eric has he is still paralyzed, but Eric is running multiple businesses and has an attitude like no one I've ever met. You think I'm the happiest guy in the world? You got to meet Eric, and I'd encourage people to check him out or read his story in the book because it's amazing.
Unbelievable. That story, Scott gets much more deeply into in the book itself. And actually on the podcast, we talked about that one as well. It's an unbelievable story. And right, so many times we can hit these challenges in life and maybe curl up in a ball and not really get too far. And holy cow, this guy was, had everything physically taken away from him, particularly being a star athlete, and then found a way to not just get through it, but to really thrive in life. Unbelievable. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that little nugget on it. Favorite praise quote for your book?
Oh, you know what?
The one that stands out to you.
Actually,
I'm sure they're all your favorite.
Hold on. So they're all awesome, but I don't know if I'd call it a praise quote, more a personal thank you. I got this late last night, and this is why I wrote the book. And nothing is making me more excited than receiving a note like this. And I'll just read a part of it. It's a very long note, but the part that really makes me just energized, excited, grateful, happy says, quote, "I could go on for pages about the topics in your book that I can personally relate to. Most importantly, Litzig encourages me to keep challenging myself to make the most of my precious resources and enjoy what I'm grateful for to the maximum. Every minute really does matter, and I think I've only experienced the initial benefits of thinking this way through life. Scott, you're a role model. Thanks for your book. I'm grateful to have a relationship with someone like you. The world needs this book." That came in late last night.
That was a review on Amazon?
No, it was just a long personal email to me. So it's not on Amazon. I'm going to encourage it to end up somehow on Amazon. But those sorts of quotes, and there's so many more about people that I'm personally impacting. That inspires me. That motivates me. That excites me. That's why I'm doing this. And reading that, I would be very honest and vulnerable to tell you it brought a tear to my eye last night.
And was that someone that's amazing? Was that someone that you've known for a long time, or someone that kind of came out
I'd
of the
say a casual relationship, not a close friend, someone that I've had a casual relationship with for probably 12 to 15 years. And I talk to every, couple of years. And what a beautiful, and it was a much longer email. I'm not going to bore everybody with all the details of the email, but that's how he closed it out.
That is incredible. I talked earlier in the opening comments about, writing a book and starting a movement, right? And sometimes people hear that and they, what is this? What are you talking about? And this is what I'm talking about, right? Scott hasn't just written a book. He's got people to change their thinking, change their lives, change their attitude, and start to take action that they've been waiting on for a long time. So that is fantastic. And what a great way to get feedback. Nothing greater to an author than to get positive feedback like that. Definitely go out and get Scott's book and write a review for him. Handful more questions about the writing journey, and then we're going to wrap this up. If you have questions, definitely drop them in the chat. We've got about 5 minutes left here. So specifically getting into the book, Scott, where did you find your magic for writing? Was there a spot you like to sit? Was it your desk? Was it at a coffee shop? Where did you like to write?
No magical place. I mean, I wrote anywhere and everywhere. I spent a lot of time on planes, just as the nature of my business. So I did write a lot on planes, but I probably was most productive sitting right at my computer with 2 screens, 1 keyboard, and some music on and just writing away.
That is awesome. Simon Sinek, Eric Custer, the head of this program, interviewed him for us several weeks ago, and he talked about his first book he wrote entirely on a plane, which I thought was really interesting. He would literally book tickets just to write on the plane. It was just in the zone. Most memorable moment in your writing journey thus far?
Oh boy, there are a lot, and they're all tied to stories like I just told. There are those emails, those calls, the person who texted me saying that you writing a book inspired me to start writing the screenplay that I'd always thought about and never did. It was the person that's actually a pretty good friend who said, I hadn't seen my mom in 6 months. I read your book and I booked a ticket to fly out to see her. The person that reached out to a teacher that they hadn't spoken to, because I talk about this as one of the ideas in the book, is reach out to somebody that's impacted you many years earlier. And I got a note from somebody saying, I took your lead and I reached out to a teacher and re-engaged. Those are all highlights. I don't know if there's one particular, but that sort of action oriented. I read your book. I heard your message. I changed my thinking or the way I'm approaching my life. Those are the highlights of the writing journey.
Change your mindset, you can change your world. And what a great reward to get that feedback. So this kind of bleeds into my next question, was best part about being an author. I think we just talked about it there. Anything I missed on that one? Last two questions here. What would you say to those considering writing a book?
Do it. Do it today, right now. This is part of the message of the book. I talk about, there's a chapter and a principle in there of take a risk and get it done today. And I mean today, because too often where I'm going to, but I'm thinking about, but I would, but we'll stop with the but. And today's the day. Today's the opportunity. Call me, email me, text me right now. I'll be free in 5 minutes and let's talk about your book journey. Let's talk about what you're thinking about doing. It is absolutely doable. Stop with the excuses.
Love it. Last question. Describe your writing journey in 5 words.
Invigorating, energetic, exciting, positive, and the most important word that I use for everything: if it's not fun, don't do it. Fun, fun, fun.
Love it. Any closing thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners here, my friend?
Well, thanks everybody for joining this, and thanks everybody for joining me on my writing journey. As we talk so much about with New Degree Press, it was such a community effort. The fact that people took the time to join this, great, thank you. People that have reached out, great, thank you. People that have written reviews, great, thank you. People that have introduced me to people. I could go on for the next hour. I know we're running out of time, so thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope I've added a little bit of positivity, gratefulness, and happiness to your world, and if I could add that to other people's world. Spread the message, share the book, introduce me to people. I'm having the time of my life, and I appreciate you all so very much.
Unbelievable. Scott White, author of The Life is Too Short Guy. As I said, his podcast is available now. It released yesterday on YouTube, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts out there. His book is available wherever you get books. And certainly if you want to get him involved in a keynote speaking slot for your company or organization, by all means, reach out to him on his website here or LinkedIn. Life is Too Short Guy. Thanks for joining this episode, Scott, and certainly all of our listeners and folks that jumped on the chat out there and everyone who joined to listen in. But definitely go check out Scott's book, Change Your Mind, Change Your Attitude, Change Your World. Absolutely incredible message, and so happy to have you on here. Scott, thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful day.
I'm your host of the Creator Community, John Saunders. Keep creating. Thanks for joining us.